Hey guys, Pro here at VIP Outdoors, and today we are going to make summer sausage. Now, last time I tried to make summer sausage, it was an epic fail. Since then, I've been talking with buddies, doing my research, and I know where I went wrong. I went a little squirreling mind on the whole situation and tried to do too much at once. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break it back down, and we're gonna do everything in a 25-pound increment is what's gonna happen. Just some of the basics that we're gonna need. We're gonna need our venison, which is gonna be our lean protein. We have our scale. We have our pork fat. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm a little nervous about the pork fat situation. And the reason I'm nervous is I've actually been planning this. For the last few weeks, I've been calling local butchers to get 5 pounds worth of pork fat because I want to do a 20% ratio of true pork fat. So that would be 5 pounds of pork fat to 20 pounds of lean venison, and they've all come up short. So we don't have 5 pounds of pure pork fat. And doing a little bit of research and talking to reliable sources, Mr. Jones, which I don't know how reliable that is, but he has done it with pork shoulder, and he has won a 50-50 ratio between pork shoulder and venison. There's enough fat in that pork shoulder that it's going to cover your 20% fat, but you gotta account for the amount of meat or lean protein in that pork shoulder. So we're gonna do it that way today. 12.5 pounds of pork shoulder, 12.5 pounds of lean protein being our venison. And here's why we're doing it in 25-pound increments. Because I went to Waltons, and there's a lot of different seasonings on the market, and they sell everything pre-packaged for 25-pound increments. That way we're not doing any measuring, any guessing, any weighing. We just take the entire pouch and we mix it in. The only thing that you have to cut in half is their high temp cheese. Okay, so their high temp cheese, I'll cut that in half when I put it in, and we'll go from there. What I'm gonna start with is by taking our venison, and I'm gonna start trimming it up. What I did this season is took my venison, dressed it, boned it, and just threw it in large sealable bags. These are actually our fish bags. That way I could pull things out, and I knew I was gonna grind a lot of the venison, and that's why we went that route, okay? But it's nice to just throw them in big blocks in the freezer instead of vacuum packing absolutely everything, and again, to bring it out and start trimming things up. So I'm gonna go and start trimming it up. I got my scale here ready to go. Again, I'm gonna do 12.5 pounds of lean venison and 12.5 pounds of pork shoulder. So all this silver skin or any earth that might be left on the venison, I'm gonna take it and trim it down to where it's gonna fit into my grinder. Okay, just a little cube, just like that. And we're gonna be at this for just a little while. A little tip, make sure your venison and your pork is not 100% frozen, but maybe in the middle. It still has some stiffness to it from being so cold. The colder the meat is, the better it's gonna work through any grinder. All right guys, so we have our venison and our pork shoulder chopped up into cubes that are gonna fit through that grinder here, okay? So about this big, right? We'll be able to feed them right through there. Now what I'm gonna do, kind of get that spread out. Washed up just a little bit here. I'm gonna add to this mixture, let me back up, and put my pork fat in here too. Pork fat goes in. Having these totes also is a really big deal. To be able to not only put your chopped up product, but your ground products and all that good stuff, right? So what we're gonna do, we have a few different products here. We have the encapsulated citric acid. We're gonna save that till last. We have Sure Gel, Sure Cure, and our seasoning. Again, that right there weighs 25 pounds. All these are sold in 25-pound measurements. So again, what's really nice about it is I'm gonna literally cut them open and dump them in. I'm gonna dump them in right now and I'm gonna give it a hand mix. A lot of people, or some people I should say, that I've noticed will dump it in during the mixing process. In my mind, I've been cutting this meat for a good amount of time to where it's actually defrosted a little bit. So I'm gonna mix all this and I'm gonna throw it into the freezer for about an hour. So again, I'm just gonna get in there, just kind of mix everything up by hand, get that fat broken apart. That way it gets all over the meat. And when you run it through that grinder, I feel, and I don't know if this is fact or just opinion, I feel like that seasoning and everything's gonna penetrate that meat a little bit better to give you a more balanced flavor through all your products. So that right there is the hot water. I'm gonna turn that off for the time being. We'll get to that in a second. Again, just mix this up. And after I mix all this up, I'm gonna put it in the chiller, or I just have a chest freezer. I'm gonna stick it in the chest freezer for probably about 30 minutes. I also have our grinder in the freezer right now. And you want that grinder, the grinder itself, to be nice and cold when you get it out. So leave that in there for at least an hour. Okay, I feel like I got this mixed up pretty good. I'm gonna go throw it in the freezer and we're gonna bring that back out here in a little while. Now, you guys heard the hot water kettle go a little bit ago. Let me take this off, throw that in the sink. What I have here are the casings. Those are 1.5 inch diameter from Waltons. I'm gonna take some hot water and I'm gonna submerge those casings. They gotta be in there for at least a half an hour to soften them up. Again, I'm gonna submerge them. Just like that. Perfect. Didn't intend for it to work out like that, but it's always nice when it does work out. Okay, again, that's going in the freezer. I got my grinder in the freezer, which is this guy right here. We're gonna be using the Big Bite from LEM. What's nice about that is it's 2 grinds in 1 pass. So we'll let this chill out, literally, and then we'll get to grinding here in a minute. Right on. So again, this is my second attempt at making summer sausages, and the first time was an epic fail. One of the reasons it was an epic fail is I just didn't have the right equipment. And so I made the investment to purchase the right equipment based on some reviews and what people had suggested. And yeah, so this is what we ended up going with. So this right here is the Big Bite from LEM, and that does a double grind in 1 single pass. So we haven't done a summer sausage with a double grind through a single pass, but we're gonna give that a shot. Every video I watch says take it through twice, through the bigger attachment and then through the smaller hole attachment. Okay. The mixer. The mixer here is something that is definitely a must. The mixer, when we start mixing to extract proteins, which you're gonna see here in a little while, has to mix for 8 minutes, okay? 8 minutes with a hand mixer is a lot of time, and it's very, very cold meat. So we wanna make sure we have a good mixer. And then we have our stuffer. I got a 25-pound stuffer. I probably went a little overboard, probably could have went with the 15, but I went with all 25 just because sometimes you just gotta go big or go home, right? And then the unit itself, This is the LEM 0.75. By the end of it, I'll tell you if I like them, don't like them, how easy they are to use or not, and kind of go from there. But I'd definitely like to thank my sponsors, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, for hooking me up with better pricing on these. So anyways, there we go, guys. Let's check them out. So we got our stuffer and we got our mixer out. Let's talk about this stuffer real quick, okay? This is a 25-pound stuffer. Took it out of the box. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one for reading instructions. I kind of go with the old school man theory. If I can't figure it out, then I throw it away. But this was actually pretty self-explanatory in that you have, again, 2 different speeds here. Here's your handle. Actually looks like a star wrench from a car for taking off your tires there. You kids who don't know what a star wrench is, look it up. But anyways, it's 2-speed press. You got this guy right here on top, which throws it in high gear basically. And then you have this lower one for going a little bit slower. I'm gonna bring this all the way to the top. This is my cylinder that all my meat's gonna go into. It installs just like that. You'll see 4 pegs. Line everything up. And then it tips up just like this, right into place. It came with 4 different tubes for different sizes. This is the one I'm gonna be using, which is the larger one today. Again, I don't read the instructions, so it's just larger size. I can't tell you exactly what size it is. But nonetheless, it goes on there just like that. And you screw it on tight. This is our mixer. Our mixer, or the LEM mixer, excuse me, it's pretty simple. You got the feet here. These are all basically, it's a nut and bolt system. You got the nuts welded onto the inside of this plate. You adjust the height with those feet there, and then you lock another nut into place at the bottom to keep the height. It inserts into your LEM unit here. There's a little groove so you can tighten up on this back side, just like it's your stuffer. Let me take it out real quick. So it takes a little bit to adjust the height that you want to get it to, but it's no big deal. After you get it set, you should be pretty good. It comes out just like that. Okay, this is the groove I'm talking about. That sets it into place. Okay, you gotta make sure it's into, gotta make sure the PTO, if you will, I grew up farming, so the PTO, it fits in there properly. If it doesn't fit, just give the paddle a little mix there, or a little turn until it clicks in there. Then you put this back in, it locks it in place. The only thing I'm seeing right now is when you make summer sausage, you're gonna mix it for 8 minutes. And for every minute you go one direction, you gotta go the other direction. When I look at this, I see that I could only go one direction. So in my mind, the other 4 minutes have to be manually done to turn it the other direction. Okay, we'll get into the mixing part of it in a little bit. But that's the only thing I could see, that if I had an upgrade option, maybe it'd be on the machine or here, that I would have something that had forward and reversed for that mixing purpose. But for as often as I do it, this is gonna be just fine. So anyways, that's a 25-pound stuffer. I can't remember what size mixer this is, in all honesty. I got the box over there somewhere. But I'll figure it out. This is actually the 25-pound mixer as well, now that I think about it. So 25 and 25. So I wanted to keep everything uniform with 25 just to make it as easy as I possibly can. So, okay, so we're back at it. We got our unit, our double grinder, Big Bite double grinder from LEM out of the freezer. And we go with that guy on top. I believe that's right. I'm going to turn this bad boy on. And I'm just going to start feeding it, but I'll grab my plunger just in case. Yeah, okay. We're just going to go right to the grinder with all of our venison. Again, this has been marinating for a while. I'm checking out the consistency of this double grinder, and it looks pretty good, but in all honesty, it doesn't look as fine as if you were to run it through a grinder twice. So I might stick it through there again. My mixer here all set up, ready to go. I got it hooked up to the unit. Now I'm just going to transfer these 25 pounds in here. Now it's a 25-pound mixer. I'm going to see how much goes in there because from experience, I don't know if you should be overloading things. We're going to find out if it could take all 25 pounds. That'd be nice if it did. Make my life a lot easier. Be able to dump in the rest of the ingredients in one shot. I feel like it's going to. But you could already feel the tackiness of this meat to where it wants to bind together. And what that is the extraction of protein. I learned that by watching videos on how to make sausage, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But that's what's going to give you the overall texture in your final product of that meat being bound together in summer sausage, opposed to, say, a bratwurst where you bite into it and it's kind of crumbly. So this is going to help things bind together, and in mixing, it's going to continue that process of protein extraction. So we're going to mix this total of 8 minutes. 4 minutes one direction, 4 minutes the other. I got to pay attention, see which way this goes, so when I do the other 4 manually, I make sure I go the right way. All right, so as it's going, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water. Right here I have 32 ounces of water. I have half pork, half venison. From what I understand, my buddy who does 20 pounds of lean venison and 5 pounds fat, he does 2 quarts. My buddy who does 50-50 only does 2 pints, which is essentially a quart. So I'm just going to slowly pour that in. This is cold water, not like ice cold or anything, just, you know, it's December here in the Northwest, so things are cold outside and water comes out of the tap pretty cold. So that's what I'm using. I think we're about 2 minutes deep here. There we go. I should have started a timer. Actually, how was the phone say?
3 minutes.
Huh?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Yeah. So, see that? Using my resources. We've been running for 3 minutes. So we got another minute of it going this direction. Safety first, because that's what the instructions say. We'll let that go for another minute. I'm gonna pop it off. We're manually gonna crank this thing the opposite direction. All right, we're at the 4 minute mark. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. All right, I'm gonna loosen this screw up. Now I'm gonna take this handle, the way this guy gets installed, just like here. Take this wing nut, or wing screw, I guess. Put it on there just like so. All right, so now I'm gonna go the opposite way. Handle's gotta be off the edge, just learn that. We're gonna go for 4 minutes. Okay, so I got about 1 minute left. This is when I'm gonna put the citric acid in here and keep on cranking. Oh boy, getting wild here. Make sure it all goes in there. I'm gonna crank for about a minute now. Yeah, citric acid is encapsulated, and you don't want that to be broken. So that's why you don't want that capsule to be broken. That's why you introduce it at the very end for the last minute. If you were doing cheese in this whole batch, that's when you're gonna introduce that also. But I'm only gonna do half cheese and half normal here. So I'm gonna take it back to my tub here in a second. All right, we're gonna get this back into the tub here. I will say they do make ones that self-tip, but I didn't get that one. And honestly, I'm kind of wishing I would have right now. See how sticky that is and pliable? Wants to stick to the gloves. Okay, that's what we're looking for, I believe. We're gonna find out. Again, I'm a novice to this, man, so that was part of it. You know, you watch these videos and these guys, they make it look easy. Well, they've done it thousands and thousands of times. Of course it's easy, right? That'd be like me building a spinner, easy. But when you're a novice, how easy is it? Well, that's what we're finding out right now. So far, I feel like it's a matter of following direction and just taking the time. Definitely time consuming. And we've been at this for a few hours and we still got a little ways to go. We still got to stuff, still got to cook. So you definitely got to dedicate a day, day and a half to getting this done to get a good product, I think. Cool. Mixer just came out. Definitely cold. You got to have a mixer. If my hands were massaging that the whole time, they would definitely be really, really cold. And I don't know if I would get a proper mix, or the mix we needed to get the good protein extraction. Got everything prepped, but had to do some cleanup, man. That is one thing about this stuff. It makes a mess. Like, it is super labor intensive with the cleaning and the switching over of things and all that crap. But enough belly aching, and let's get back to sausage making. So I'm gonna take about half. I'm just gonna eyeball half, throw it in my 25-pound mixer here, or excuse me, my stuffer. Just like, yay, this is gonna be the normal sausage. And I stuff it down in there. Try not to have any air pockets. Just massage it in there with your fingers. Okay. Yeah, remember a 25-pound stuffer, so I'm assuming half is gonna be right around 12 pounds. Okay, just like that. Now, I'm gonna take it, load it back in here. Lock it in. Press this thing all the way down. I'm gonna go to the top one. Okay, there's a little nut on here. Good, okay, so it's nice and tight now. I'm gonna take it back to the slow one. This is my first time doing this, so I gotta make sure I get her dialed in. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load that, oops, going the wrong way here. I'm gonna press that until I see, oh, there it is, that sausage start pushing through the tube. I'm gonna take one of my casings. Again, these are the 1.5 inch casings. I've been soaking in warm water for a little while now. Epic fail. This is too big for this. Mother of goodness. So, I'm gonna go back to one of the 3 accessories here. I thought it was the biggest. It's actually the second biggest I need. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back this off. I'm gonna go to the top one because I got a little bit of sausage I want to put back in there. All right, I'm gonna take this bad boy off, switch them around real quick. Happier by the time it's all said and done. Okay, now we got it. All right, so we got our first half of summer sausage stuffed into our 1.5 inch casings. 25 pounds of summer sausage is a lot of sausage, right? So when you think about summer sausage that goes into the freezer, at least for me in particular, when I have one flavor of summer sausage out there, I feel like after the first 10 or so many, you're not as excited to get to the next one because you've just kind of had your feel of it. So you bring it out for holidays, for parties maybe. But what I wanted to do with this is halfway through, change it up a little bit. And so the first half of the batch is just a standard, I believe it's the H seasoning from Weston. I'll correct myself in the description below if I didn't get that right. Now I'm gonna go with some hot pepper high temp cheese. Okay. So again, I only have about 12 and a half, 13 pounds left in here. I'm gonna sprinkle this in here. I'm gonna do about half of the pack. Okay. What I'm also gonna do is put some peppercorns in there. And again, we're just eyeballing this part. Okay, not every bite's gonna have peppercorn in it, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna go old school with my hands here and just start mixing it up. Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll kind of go through and see, and just take a random handful and look through there. Is there cheese, plenty of cheese mixed through there, a peppercorn every now and again. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm gonna reload that stuffer and continue stuffing. Okay, so I'm noticing as I fill these, you know, I'm on the slow crank and I'm pushing it through. If I had something to, maybe some wood clamps or something to clamp my press down to my counter and make things a little more stable. And also as it goes through, what I'm doing is I'm applying some pressure to the casing, but enough that when you crank, it allows it to slide down. Now the sausage kind of lean in there. Here at the end, I give it a nice little tug on the handle to keep it nice and tight. Might have overfilled that one. No big deal, come off. Then you spin it a few times, a little extra, oh well. I haven't gotten perfect at this part. And then I have the Mahogany pliers. Oh, of course I screwed that up now. Twist it till it's nice and tight. That casing's nice and firm. Go down, pinch them nice and tight, and then you got a ring on there just like that. So, you know, I've never had summer sausage with the 1.5 inch casing on there. Everything I've ever done is, or had from a butcher, has been 2.5 inch casing. And off the top of my head, I think I like it in that I think when we pull one out, we'll eat the entire thing. Now, it obviously is gonna take a little while longer to stuff all these, but if it means that we're not discarding of any summer sausage after it's all said and done, then I'll take it. Right on. So guys, I got a pile of these stuffed right now. I got 25 of them. I'm gonna do this in the oven, okay? Generally speaking, when you're doing summer sausage, you're gonna stair step the heat process, the cooking process. You're gonna start low, like at 140 degrees for an hour, 160 degrees for a couple hours, 170 for an hour, and then polish it off. And what that does is that keeps the sausage cooking evenly throughout, opposed to just cooking the outside and the inside being raw. So, but for this purpose, I'm gonna use my oven because I really want to see how well it works. The lowest setting I have on the oven, excuse me, is hold warm. So we're just gonna put them in there and just kind of see where it takes us here. And that hold warm, excuse me, it says, it reads it's 170 degrees, but what I'm gonna do is actually use one of my meter pluses here to give me true ambient temperature. The true ambient temperature is actually gonna be lower than 170 degrees, I can guarantee it. Okay. So we're gonna get these put on there crosswise. Make sure you leave a little space between each one. I wish I would have marked which one's cheese and which one's normal, but we didn't, so it's gonna be a surprise on each one that we do. Okay. Of course, you can do this on your smoker, your pellet smoker, but I really do suggest that meter plus because that's going to give you your true temperatures opposed to your readouts that you get on a lot of these. Okay. Put that guy back in there a little bit more. All right, so what's nice about this meter plus is I'm going to be able to insert that all the way into the middle of the sausage. Make sure you stay right in the middle. And that's going to do a couple things. This probe is going to tell us the true ambient temperature inside the oven. It's also going to give us internal temperature inside of our summer sausage dough, which is more important, right? So we're going to keep that right there.
Pulling that up.
In stepping up the temperature, I put my lowest setting on the oven here in the kind of keep warm phase. And my oven reads 170. But with my meter plus, it reads that the ambient temperature is only 150. It's been going for about 2.5 hours now, and I feel like the sausage is stalled out at the internal temperature of 140, 141. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up my temperature here. I'm going to go to bake, and I'm going to go to 190. Okay. And go up nice and slow. Now, one thing we just experienced is that because of the moisture in there, inside of the oven is going to steam and therefore create a bunch of moisture around the side. I looked down at a big puddle of water down there at the bottom of like meaty water, which I'm glad my wife isn't home because I got a chance to clean it up. But just keep in mind that that is going to happen if you do it in your oven. All right, guys, so I am on my third and final temperature step. Again, our stove temperature read in 190, but because of my meter plus, it says the true ambient temperature in there is 180. So as of right now, I've had them in there for a total of 4 hours. 2 hours at 150 ambient temperature and 2 hours at 180 ambient temperature. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bump it up and finish off the cooking. I'm gonna go ahead and take her to 210. Start that bad boy and let her go. Now when I get them out, what I wanna do is I wanna have one of those totes ready to go. And when I say ready to go, what I mean is I want an ice bath. So I'm gonna have some cold water. We're in December, it's cold outside. I'm gonna fill one of those up with water. I'm gonna still throw some ice in there. So when I remove that sausage from in there, I'm gonna throw it right in the ice bath. I'm gonna shock it. I'm gonna stop the cooking process. And then also what that does is it releases the casing from the meat when you go to eat it. So I'm gonna bring this up to 166 internal temperature. Again, I'm able to tell because of that meter. So we got to the internal temperature that we were looking for, 165. I think I did 166 in all honesty. Oh boy. Oh, there we go. Let's get these out. Now, again, check them out. Don't look too bad. And take them straight to the ice bath there. See that? Final part of sausage making. I pulled them out of the oven, dumped them into cold water, the cold water bath with ice. It shocked them. And then I left them outside overnight, in all honesty, because it's nice and cold outside. If you look at this, the casing's a little bit wrinkled, and that could have been a couple different things. I might not have stuffed it tight enough, or I finished it off too fast. But realistically, what it comes down to is flavor. So let's slice one of these bad boys open, see what it looks like. That looks really nice. I think earlier I mentioned maybe I want to double grind these through the double grinder. I ended up not. I ended up just leaving it the way it is. Casing comes off there nicely. And I'm glad I didn't, because you see that marbling in there between the fat and the meat. I really do like that. Ultimate taste test here. pretty dang good. For my first time, I'm very happy with that. With that Waltons seasoning, I'm used to a certain summer sausage flavor, and this is a little different. This almost takes it from summer sausage into almost a hard salami flavor, but still has the texture of summer sausage. I really do like that. Again, these casings I got, are 1.5 inch casings. That was actually by mistake. But I'm okay with it. Because now I have this that I feel like I would consume the entire stick, if you will, or log, whatever you want to call it, during one setting, whether it be a party or whatever it is. I feel like sometimes with the big 2.5 inchers, you cut it up, half of it goes into the fridge, sometimes you eat it, sometimes you don't. But anyways, guys, that's how we make summer sausage here at VIP Outdoors. We'll put everything down in the description as far as what we're using, the recipe, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.